Hi, my name is Suzanne, and I just want to tell you something about my story and how I ended up on YouTube and how my journey has been going on there. Because I've got a lot of diverse things on there, and it's kind of like I get some people saying, well, I subscribed to your channel, then I got this funny video. What's it all about? And what do you really do, and stuff like that. And I thought, gosh, Suzanne, you've been putting out all this stuff out there. It's like you've been blah, and you haven't been telling people anything about you. And so I thought, well, maybe it's about time now. And so here we go. The beginning of my journey of healing, if you like to say that. No, let's go down to the very, very beginning. I was 3 years old, as far as I remember, and I used to get psychic stuff. Like, I'd know, for example, there was a friend of mine, she's on Facebook, you know who you are if you're listening to this, and I dreamt the night before that we were in the assembly, and I dreamt exactly where she was, and I dreamt where this other girl was, who I have been in touch with recently, and befriended on Facebook as well. She's just kind of very strange how things happen. But anyway, and I dreamt that my best friend, who shall remain nameless, obviously, we were kind of had our arms linked together. You know, little girls just about to go into assembly. I think I was about 6 or 7 or something like that. And she said to me, I'm not going to be your friend anymore. I'm going to be friends with this other girl. And then she linked hands with the other girl, and I was left on my own. And so, and I remember, I woke up from the dream. It was a very vivid dream. It was a very exact dream. I know some people dream psychically. When they do so, they dream in metaphor. Like, they saw an angel who showed them an alligator, and the alligator ate a snake, and that means something. For me, I dream of the exact thing. I'm very literal in every way, and so my psychic input comes in a very literal way. So, and I could remember when I woke up from the dream, I could remember everything. I could remember the tone of voice, I could remember the voices, I could remember who was standing in front of us, who was standing behind us, where we were in the queue, etc. And so the next day, I had my arm linked with my friend's arm, but I knew what was about to happen. And I wasn't sad about it because I'd already dealt with it. I knew it was going to happen. So I thought, okay, well, obviously, I'm not the friend for her, that's fine. Cool, we'll deal with it. And so she linked hands with this other girl, and she said, I'm not going to be your friend anymore, I'm going to be friends with this, and I just knew that's the way that my life was. It's always been that way ever since I was 3. For example, I might get telepathically what somebody was thinking, and then I would look at them, and as I look at them, I would think, but they don't answer me back, and I would get very confused, and I would think, well, they've just said something to me and I've answered them, why haven't they answered me back? And that's when I was around 3, and I started asking people, and the adults told me, basically everybody told me, that I was kind of unique in that. And so, as a very confident and happy child, sorry, I had to tickle the mouse there because my computer was going to go off. I just thought that everybody else was weird, and I felt sorry for them for not having this thing that I've got. And also, I had a feeling that I was not the only one. I knew it was a real thing, and so as I grew up, with the occasional psychic experience, I'm not what you might call a very strong psychic, but I did get psychic experiences. And as I grew up, I wanted so much to, because I had a scientific mind, I wanted so much to investigate what it is that psychic stuff is. I really wasn't interested in what a lot of people are doing these days. They're trying to prove that it exists. What really perturbs me is a lot of the people that are trying to prove that it exists are psychologists. What does a psychologist know about subatomic particles and quantum physics? It doesn't make sense, you know, they're not qualified. But somehow that's what's going on. But anyway, that's life, you know. It's like they used to think the Earth was flat for such a long time, and people that thought that the Earth was round, they were killed or hung or persecuted in some other way, and so it's just some silliness that's going on at the moment. You know, it doesn't really bother me. But what did happen is when I was at college and I wanted to know what to study at university in order to get what I wanted, I was given the wrong advice, of course, because nobody had done anything that I wanted to do, and so nobody knew how to advise me. And I ended up doing a degree in biochemistry, microbiology and chemistry. I ended up thinking microbiology was a load of because it's all about remembering the names of things, not really how to understand how everything interacts with everything else, and how they interact with subatomic particles, and how they interact with other particles and other things that are, let's say, 10,000 kilometers away. And so that wasn't going anywhere near answering my questions. So I thought, well, this isn't going to help me. But it did give me an insight of how the body worked, which is fine. And microbiology really helped me. You should see me if somebody's trying to cook something in a very not very hygienic matter. I refuse to eat it because I've seen what happened in those Petri dishes. But anyway. So I ended up finishing my degree in chemistry, which was an absolute miracle that I got an honours degree, because in the first year I fell very seriously ill. It was 1986. I was misdiagnosed. All my friends were properly diagnosed and given the help that they needed. You've got to remember that for most of us in the world, if we're diagnosed with a serious disease, then we have to have we probably have access to some kind of disability kind of insurance. And since I was misdiagnosed, the doctor would not sign that off for me. Whereas my 5 friends at university who got exactly the same virus and exactly the same symptoms, they got properly diagnosed and given notes so that they could take time off. It was particularly difficult for me because I had what is generally known as a bursary. It was then called a student grant, and that was the last time in the UK that there was going to be a student grant for people like me. After that, it was going to be student loans, and so really I didn't want to lose that, and so I really struggled to finish my honours degree. But when I finished it, I was really destroyed physically. I was in a terrible shape, and So anyway, um, I developed. I loved research, and I can look at any piece of research, and if there are any holes in it, I can tell you where all the holes are. And I would have loved to do an MSc and a PhD, but in my state of health, I couldn't. And so I had to sadly leave university, having been misdiagnosed, mistreated by the medical community in the UK. And I don't want to say too much because legally it could get me into a whole lot of trouble. But just suffice to say that when I did find a lawyer to help me, because I had borrowed a lot of money, my children had gone through a lot of suffering, and I had gone through a lot of suffering because of misdiagnosis and medical neglect. And when I finally found, my daughter insisted on it. She found a lawyer, and she said, "Look, Mum, you spent so much money, you suffered so much. Just get some compensation, at least so that they'll know that they can't get away with doing things like that to other people." And I thought, okay, well, we'll see what happens. And I said to her, "Look, you know, I've been down routes like this before. I spent a fortune on medical bills. I mean, I was very hugely in debt. I was so much in debt because I owned my own business. It was 50-50 whether it would benefit me or not going bankrupt. I asked two experts in the field of bankruptcy, and they both told me the advantages and the disadvantages are equal of becoming bankrupt. So it was really my decision. And I made the decision not to go bankrupt and to pay off my debts, which took a long time. But basically every day I would borrow money, not knowing how I was going to pay it back, just to stay alive one more day, because my children were young and I was divorced, and there was nobody to look after them if I died, and I didn't want them to go into care. I'd heard so many stories about what happened to children in care or in foster care or whatever. There are some lovely foster parents out there, and there are some beautiful children's homes who have helped so many children, but there are also children who have been very seriously abused in the system, and I would just do anything to stay alive. I would borrow any money from anywhere, not knowing how I was going to pay it back, just to stay alive one more day until my children were old enough. And when they were old enough to look after themselves, I left the country, and I'd married a South African. And as soon as I came here, well, first doctor said to me soon after I came here, "Oh, you've got COPD, haven't you?" I said, "Yeah." Oh, still emotional about that. This is EFT, by the way. It helps calm you down. You stimulate certain acupressure points, and you're feeling emotional, tearful. I'd been through a very hard journey of not being believed, being told it was all in my mind, and I trusted the medical fraternity for so many years. 25 years of chronic illness. And I did something which was extreme. I left my children, who were grown up, behind, and my grandchildren, and came to a completely different country in the hope that I could get diagnosed and get the help that I wanted and needed. What really happened is I got diagnosed. But because restrictions in South Africa are less than the restrictions that there are in the UK, for example, when you go to a natural health food store or you consult with a natural practitioner, I found out what herbs and supplements I can take instead of antibiotics, because there's part of my lung that just can't. What it does is it gets stuff stuck in it and it can't get it out. And so the only way that it knows how to deal with it is to make like an infection kind of ball around it of pus, and then I have to cough out the pus. But unfortunately, once the pus forms, it can get infected, and if it gets infected, then I get a really serious chest infection which lasts for weeks. And so I have to keep myself healthy by not getting ill in the first place. And in South Africa, it was a wonderful opportunity of again emotional, finally being believed. I said to the doctor, look, just don't give me a formal diagnosis yet. At least I know that I'm believed, and that's fine by me, because a formal diagnosis does have repercussions, and I don't need the formal diagnosis anymore because my health is now so much better. With the help of a technique called EFT, Emotional Freedom Techniques, and also a linked technique called allergy antidotes, I control anything, whether emotional or physical, and release it from my body so that my lungs don't get inflamed. If that part of this, it's here, the damage is somewhere here. If that part of the tube, the airway, gets inflamed, as you can imagine, a tube is a thing that's like this. I'm trying to show it to the camera. I don't know if I can show it properly. It's a thing that's like this, and there is an obstruction in here. So as you can see, there is room for air to move in and out through the obstruction. So I have to wipe away that here in a minute. But if there's anything that causes an allergic reaction or an emotion that causes an inflammation, the whole tube swells up and closes. The next thing after that, if it happens for a long time, is emphysema. I have avoided for 25 years because of the degree that I took, and I knew about the human body, and I come from a medical family. I knew by hook or by crook I would do anything to stop that tube from becoming blocked. And after learning EFT and allergy antidotes, it was easy. It was a very natural solution, just involving acupressure and special wording and holding objects that my body was reacting to. And that made a huge difference in my life. Also, what made a huge difference is learning the potato method of breathing. I must admit I'm a lazy person, and well, that's not entirely true, but when it comes to doing something complicated, I also always choose an easy version if I can. And there's a kiddies version of the potato technique, and I do that in the gym, and it helps to increase the amount of carbon dioxide in my lungs. If we have too much oxygen in our lungs and we have the propensity of allergic kind of reaction, or if we have damaged lungs, then what happens is our whole biochemistry changes. Basically, that's the idea behind the potato technique, which is scientifically proven and was founded by Dr. Buteyko in Russia, who has now passed away. And so the technique was very hard for me to do because it was painful, and like anybody with a long-term illness, there were thoughts of, poor me, why do I have to learn how to breathe again, and stuff like that. And EFT was a great help, and still is, in helping me to exercise, do the exercises, and keep my lung, it is one lung, but the other lung gets affected when this lung gets very, very infected, and this lung gets affected, but otherwise it's just this lung, just under where I put my hand, that's where the damage is. And So yeah, I even had an eye. Gosh, I mean, I could go on forever, but I don't want a sad story. It's a good story. 2011, I did something that I never thought I would do in my life, and it was a lifetime dream. I ran a half marathon, and on that day, I knew I had conquered COPD. I know I'll never, or I think I will never completely get over it, because of the physical damage that's there. But it really does feel as if the physical damage is somewhat repairing. I don't think it'll be 100% repaired. I'm not one of those people who think, oh yeah, all you have to do is wish upon the fairies and something magical will happen to you. I'm a little bit more down to earth than that. So yeah, bit by bit, through alternative health, I learned to help myself, and I learned more and more alternative health technique to help other people. And so I became an alternative and complementary health practitioner. And through that, people were asking me to teach them, and so I became a teacher as well. And then, as well as teaching people, what I did is, when I would teach someone, so I can see this is there, and I'll just put it there. I fiddle a lot, as you might notice. I'm a fiddler, but that's kind of okay. Well, you have to have someone that's different. I can't be boring like all the other people that are boring and bland. I know I'm boring and bland sometimes. We all are. But anyway, so where was I? Yes. So I did my first half marathon. I found out about a lot of things, and now I'm ready to go back to the UK because I don't need antibiotics as much as I used to, because I have natural alternatives. Now that I have the information that I gained from South Africa, I also have information that I've gained that helps me to prevent a virus from developing, and that's very important. A viral infection can lead very easily to a chest infection, and that's so. I run, I exercise, I look after my body, and I try to eat as well as possible. And I've lost 27 kilos with EFT, which I'm really proud of, because I had put on so much weight through steroids. At one point in my life, I ate anorexically, because I was on so much steroids that my body just couldn't cope with it, and eating anywhere near normal, I would just blow up. I really would put on a lot of weight. And that anorexic part of my life is in the past. I'm just so glad that it's in the past, because it was horrible, hardly eating anything, just to keep my weight. And then I made a decision at one point, and I thought, well, I don't care if I put on weight. I've had enough with anorexic eating. I'm not doing it anymore. And so the weight started to go on bit by bit, and I tried to exercise a lot to overcome it. So anyway, along my journey, I stopped smoking. When I stopped smoking, I replaced it with narcotics. Narcotics saved my life. I know a lot of bad stuff is attributed to drugs, but as far as I'm concerned, cigarettes are a legal drug. I took illegal drugs, and it helped me to stay on an even keel. And it's something that I'm not ashamed of. It's part of my past, and it was for a brief period in my life. And I now help people to get over narcotics, and I help people to get over cigarettes. I help people with any kind of addiction, because I know what it's like to be stuck right in there and not to be able to get out. Because I would cough up blood for 5 hours, and then the first thing I would do is light up a cigarette to calm myself down for the trauma of having coughed up blood for 5 hours. You know, I'm laughing because all this is in the past behind me, As you will see, there are lots of YouTube recordings of me working on myself. That's my style. I try to get some YouTube recordings of other people, and I usually give them to a charity that I support, so that the techniques can get more exposure. But on my own website, it's about me. It's about how I want to move forward, and really, I invite you to join me, and the guests that I have sometimes on my channel who help people grow and develop, whether physically or emotionally or psychically, spiritually. You know, we're all growing, we're all on a journey of growth and development, and that's my story anyway. So I'll be going back to the UK in about 1 to 3 years time, and at the moment I'm in South Africa. I'm working for a charity who is working free, by the way, for the charity, because I'm a committee member and these are the rules, but that's cool. I own my own company, and I produce books of self-help and programs of self-help, and I facilitate sessions for people so that they can help themselves to better health and happiness and confidence, and there's just so much that EFT can do. And a lot of people think, oh yeah, this is such a crazy claim, but all I would say is just try it and see how you feel about it. You know, you've got to try something once in your life. Try EFT. So anyway, you'll be seeing me some more. I do videos about sports. My dream is to become a semi-professional athlete, which I was in 2011, and I want to pursue that again. I've got various projects on at the moment, and it's just so nice to talk to people. That's one reason why I do my self-healing online, so that you can see what it's really like. You can see it's not all kind of light and love. There are tears, there is anger, there are violent, angry scenes that develop in my mind, and I walk through them, and I release them. And there is sadness that is released, there are fears that are released. And on my journey, I got rid of a lot of things. I got rid of smoking, I got rid of the ill health, I got rid of the weight, and now I am into, well, I got rid of the debt. Now I'm into attracting money again, because I used to have my own home, my own car, just normal things that the average person who is reasonably comfortable or just okay has. And yeah, I'll have those things again. I'd sold everything I had, because when I went into being a practitioner, I took a course at a college that was supposed to tell you how to start your own business and what you have to do, and they said, well, you can't borrow money from the bank. And that's a very good example of those who can't teach. And so I sold my home as a result. And so I've made a lot of mistakes in life, and I hope that you can learn from my mistakes as well as through my successes. And I just want to welcome you on my journey. I hope I haven't said too much. I hope I haven't bored you to sleep. If I've bored you to sleep and you needed to sleep anyway, well, that's a good result anyways. Anyway, this is Suzanne. Thank you so much for watching this and for listening. And if you have any questions for me, just subscribe, write to me, or comment below the video. I would love to hear from you. Bye bye now.